College of Law commencement exercises. The processional music this evening is being performed by Evan Hurley, Deborah Netanel, and NKU music faculty Frank Vestison and Lisa Black. Would you please rise for our national anthem, led by Kelsey Cummings, Sydney Allen, Kyle Heinrich, and Matthew Folsom. students in the Department of Music.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please welcome Mr. Jeffrey Standen, Dean of the Chase College of Law, to the podium.
Please be seated. To our accomplished faculty in attendance, to the university officials appearing with me on the podium, to our distinguished invited guests, and most of all to the families and friends of the class of 2016, I extend my welcome to the commencement for the Northern Kentucky University Salmon P. Chase College of Law. I am honored to be the 15th Dean of our law school. I am also honored to offer my heartfelt and warmest welcome to the class of 2016. This will be a great evening for you, marking the end of a long and difficult journey. Every person in this room is now fully aware of the difficulty of law school, of the sacrifice it involves, of the investment of time, treasure, and talents it requires, and of the intellectual challenges that lie ahead. It is my honor and pleasure to be your dean. Let me be the first now to ask everyone here to join me in offering congratulations to you, the NKU Chase College of Law class of 2016.
Please welcome Ms. Sue Aude Rowlands, Provost and Executive Vice President for Academic Affairs, to the podium.
Good evening. The Chase College of Law of Northern Kentucky University is fortunate to have outstanding faculty members who daily demonstrate their commitment to the tripartite mission of the university through their teaching, research, and service. To quote Chase's own Barbara McFarland, Director of Student Success Initiatives and Assistant Professor of Law, I chose Chase after several decades at another law school because I perceived a true commitment here to assisting all students in acquiring the knowledge, skills, ethics, and dedication required for success in law school, on the bar exam, in the practice of law, and in the service to the community. It was both a good choice and an accurate perception. It is my distinct pleasure to ask all faculty in the Salmon P. Chase College of Law to stand and be recognized. Thank you. At this time, it is my pleasure to introduce the distinguished members of the platform party. I will ask them to stand as I call their names and remain standing. Please hold your applause until all have been introduced. Representing the NKU Board of Regents, Regent Andre R. Ward, Regent Terry L. Mann, Regent Arnie Slaughter, Regent Richard Boyce, Mr. Jeffrey S. Mearns, President of Northern Kentucky University, the Honorable John Gleason, Honorary Degree Recipient and Commencement Speaker, Mr. John M. Dunn, Vice President of the Chase Alumni Association, Mr. John Bickers, Professor of Law and Grand Marshal, Mr. Barry Kenzel, President of the NKU Foundation Board, Mr. Jeffrey Standen, Dean of the Chase College of Law, Dr. Catherine Frank, Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences, Dr. Kevin Kirby, Dean of the College of Informatics, Dr. Becky Porterfield, Dean of the Hale U.S. Bank College of Business, Dr. Cynthia Reed, Dean of the College of Education and Human Services, Dr. Dale Scalise Smith, Dean of the College of Health Professions, Dr. Arna Almquist, Associate Provost and Dean of the Library, Ms. Heather Crabb, Assistant Dean of Students, Chase College of Law, Mr. Michael Mannheimer, Professor of Law and Dean for Faculty Development, Ms. Sarah Sidebottom, Vice President for Legal Affairs and General Counsel, and Dr. Catherine Hershedy, Executive Assistant to the President and Secretary to the Board of Regents. Please join me in recognizing our platform party today. Thank you.
Please welcome Mr. Andrew Johnson, President of the Student Bar Association, to the podium.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. So good afternoon, professors, administration, staff, graduates, and all the gracious and patient people who decided to put up with us graduates for the past 3 or 4 years. Those are the parents, the wives, the husbands, significant others, siblings, relatives, all of you. Good afternoon and welcome. Now today is not about rank. It's not about GPA, it's not about exams, or it's not about jobs. Today is about recognizing and acknowledging the hard work that each and every single graduate put in to graduate law school. A great writer once said, "Success is not an accident," and it isn't. He said it takes hard work. He said it takes serious sacrifices. And it takes risks. And he was right. It certainly applies to law school as well. We all, as graduates, took risks ourselves. We took risks taking the LSAT. We took risks coming to law school. And in fact, we took risks coming to class unprepared, knowing the professor may actually call on us. And some of us took risks leaving our graduation requirements to the last year. Myself, personally, I took a risk coming to Chase. Some of you may know, I'm not from here. Before I moved here, I lived in Canada, and but before I continue, I want to dispel certain rumors, certain stereotypes that maybe some people have asked me. So, no, we don't have maple syrup with every meal. No, our national sport is not hockey. No, everyone does not speak French, although I do. Yes, we all do love Tim Hortons. We do not say A after every sentence. Every other sentence, maybe. We'll see. But more importantly, I took a risk. I took a risk moving countries coming to Chase. And despite whatever risk each of us graduates took today, we still found that success that the writer was talking about. And whatever sacrifices you made, whether you worked full-time and went to school part-time, whether you decided to leave your job and come to law school, we're here as graduates, united, because we earned our Juris Doctorate degree, our JD. And no matter what path you take after this, whether you decide you want to stay local or not, whether you decide you want to even practice or not, this is a success, this is an achievement that no one can take from you, and recognize that. So I ask everyone here, one more time, to stand, acknowledge, and congratulate the graduates here for being successful and completing law school. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. That was terrific. It is now my honor to present the Salmon P. Chase Award. This award is a likeness of a silver pitcher. The real pitcher, which is housed in the Cincinnati Museum Center and is numbered among the museum's most valuable artifacts, was given to our namesake, Chief Justice Salmon P. Chase, by the African American community in Cincinnati in recognition of Chase's stalwart advocacy on behalf of freed slaves. This silver pitcher and the award given in its honor has drawn the attention of the nation's current Chief Justice, John Roberts. Chief Justice Roberts, in speaking about our law school's Chase Award, has said that graduates of this law school, like Chief Justice Chase himself, and I quote, should bring discipline, integrity, skill, and courage to your labors, and couple those virtues with a sense of public service and a personal commitment to justice. Today, we bestow the Chase Award on a graduate of the class of 2016 who exemplifies the ideals embodied in the life of Salmon P. Chase, represented by the silver pitcher and spoken of by Chief Justice Roberts. This graduating student has spent his time at Chase working diligently on behalf of others, including internships with 2 public defender offices, extending a year-long commitment to the Kentucky Innocence Project, and spending his final year of law school working in the Constitutional Litigation Clinic with the Ohio Justice and Policy Center. He has been a tenacious advocate for the unfortunate and represents an outstanding recipient of the Salmon P. Chase Award. Please join me in congratulating Mr. Mark Edward Clark, NKU Class of 2016.
Thank you, Dean Standen, for presenting me with this award. I would like to thank my classmates, but more importantly, dear friends who nominated me for this award. I would like to thank every single professor who taught me over these last few years. Every single one of you inspired me and or challenged me in really remarkable ways, and I really appreciate every single one of you. I would like to thank all of the supervisors, mentors who taught me in the internships and externships and clerkships that I was so fortunate to be able to be a part of because of the opportunities that Chase provides. I want to thank my family for for showing me from a very young age that everybody has a story, and that everybody's story is important, and that when you go through life listening to people's stories and trying to understand people's stories, you're a more compassionate person. Salmon P. Chase embodied compassion in his zealous advocacy on behalf of those members of our society who had been forgotten, cast aside, denigrated, and relegated to second-class citizen status. It's been nearly 200 years since Salmon Chase stood in a courtroom in Cincinnati and gave a voice and a name to Samuel Watson, a fugitive slave. I hope that I am able to have just a fraction of the impact that Salmon Chase had in furthering the cause of equality of every person in this country. And finally, I just want to say that my motivation throughout law school has been the bedrock truth that every single human being is special and immensely deserving of love and kindness. And I hope that this class, this very special class, filled with people who I've grown to really love, goes out into the world, and that we practice law, or we do whatever it is that we choose to do with that truth as our foundation. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Mark, that was very inspiring. Thank you. Usually in this brief space, it is my job to tell you why you are special and to urge you to strive for greatness. Instead, I'd like to make it more personal. Your graduation is a milestone for you, but if I may, it also marks a milestone for me. I came here 3 years ago, just at the time most of you came here too. You are my first class. I am proud of you and proud to be your dean. I do not know why exactly each of you 3 years ago chose to come to law school, and more particularly chose to attend Chase. Your reasons are many and varied. But I'd like to tell you why I came to Chase. As much as I came here to work with our outstanding leadership team and wonderful faculty, the truth of the matter is that, above all else, I came to Chase because of you. During my introduction to our campus, I had occasion to meet numerous Chase students and Chase alumni. What I saw in them, what I saw in you, I'd like to flatter myself in thinking I see in myself too. And that is this, that to a person, a Chase student is characterized by a singular determination, a frank acknowledgement of the uphill battle that is life, and a ready acceptance of the hard work that is required to succeed on all fronts. Chase students know the value of hard work. A Chase student is one for whom nothing has been handed to him or her in life. What we have made of ourselves, we have earned. I sensed that grit and that determination when I first met you and your peers, and my 3 years at Chase has shown me that my initial impression was accurate. You came here determined to succeed. You understood that your successful preparation for a career in law or in related fields required you to meet the faculty halfway. We can provide the instruction and the skills practice, but you have to do the hard work and put in the late hours to bring that education to completion. You understood the challenge of law school, much as you appreciate the challenges that lie ahead. And as you begin your taxing preparation for the bar exam and your entrance into a very competitive employment market, you are a Chase graduate. But trust me on this one point, the very determination and perseverance that you brought with you to law school and that you exhibited from the first time of our meeting to this very moment is precisely your advantage. Indeed, it is the Chase advantage. So many of our immensely successful alumni tell me stories of the hardships and difficulties of their time at Chase, from working outside jobs to make ends meet, to raising a family, to borrowing from relatives, to commuting here from great distances. Indeed, many of our graduates also worked full-time jobs and raised young families and commuted from distant cities and still managed to matriculate through law school. An incredible accomplishment. Think of the organizational skill, the tremendous work ethic, just the sheer grit and determination that such an accomplishment requires. Think also of how that experience leads to so much success. This is exactly the story to which so many of you can relate in so many different ways. Every graduate from Chase shares in this story. If the student didn't come here with it, very soon after arriving at our doors, the Chase student adapts to our culture. Every one of us learns that few things in life are handed to us. We all learn what it takes to succeed, first here at Chase and later in the world. Trust me on this point. The very personal characteristics that you exhibited to me 3 years ago that brought me here to you and that brought you to this night here at graduation, those are the most essential attributes you will need to succeed in your careers. You have learned how to be a lawyer in these past 3 years. As importantly, you have learned how to be successful. Let me pause for one moment to introduce you, to her surprise, to one of our graduates from a few years ago. She asked that she would prefer I not share that, I'm sure, who after a long, successful program at Chase has worked here at NKU as our general counsel for the university for over 20 years, and today marks her retirement from NKU and her retirement from her prestigious law career. I'll ask her to stand and ask you to join with me in a round of applause for our general counsel at NKU, Miss Sarah Sidebottom. Thank you, Sarah. I wish all of you continued success. Congratulations on your graduation.
Please welcome Mr. Jeffrey S. Mearns, President of Northern Kentucky University, to the podium.
Well, good evening. It's a pleasure to be with you this evening, and it is a privilege, both professionally and personally, for me to introduce John Gleason, the recipient of an honorary degree at our ceremony and our commencement speaker this evening. Mr. Gleason is the youngest of 7 children. His father emigrated to the United States and to New York from Ireland, and like many of our students, John was among the first generation in his family to graduate from college. He received his bachelor's degree from Georgetown University and his law degree from the University of Virginia, and he worked his way through college and law school by painting houses in the summer. After a brief stint in private practice with Cravath, Swaine, and Moore, a large firm in New York City, Mr. Gleason became an assistant United States attorney in Brooklyn, New York. As a federal prosecutor, he aggressively and successfully pursued cases against drug kingpins, corrupt politicians, and even a corrupt mob lawyer. Mr. Gleason was the lead prosecutor in the federal cases brought against John Gotti and Victor Arena, the bosses of the Gambino organized crime family and the Colombo organized crime family. Both Gotti and Arena were convicted of racketeering and of ordering multiple murders, and they were both sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. And Mr. Gleason received the Attorney General's Distinguished Service Award for his success and dedication as a prosecutor. And then in 1994, Mr. Gleason was appointed as a United States District Court judge in the same courthouse where he had served as a prosecutor. During his 22 years as a federal trial judge, he presided over more than 200 criminal and civil trials, and he authored more than 1,500 published opinions. Mr. Gleason has also taught law for more than 25 years at Brooklyn Law School, New York University, and the University of Virginia. And just last month, Mr. Gleason received the Thomas Jefferson Foundation Medal in Law, the highest honor conferred by the University of Virginia. In my view, though, Mr. Gleason's most impressive achievements are not the convictions he obtained as a prosecutor, nor his many awards and honors. Rather, what I admire most is his abiding commitment to justice for all people in all cases. And I want to give you a few examples, just a few examples of how Mr. Gleason demonstrated that commitment to individual justice by challenging Congress, the President, and the Justice Department to address the unintended consequences of unduly harsh sentences that are occasionally mandated by federal law. The first, in 2015, Judge Gleason expunged the conviction of a woman he had sentenced to 5 years of probation more than a decade earlier. Seems like a simple act, but in fact his action was extraordinary because there is no federal law that allows a federal judge to permanently seal a criminal record. And Judge Gleason decided to expunge the woman's record for a simple reason, so that she could get a job to support her 4 children. The editorial in the New York Times wrote, "It appears to be the first time that a federal judge has expunged a conviction for this reason, and it should not be the last." 2 months ago, Judge Gleason went one step further for another defendant whom he had sentenced more than a decade earlier. In order to help this woman resume her career as a nurse, he gave her a federal certificate of rehabilitation. One commentator described this novel act as, quote, "a federal judge's new model for forgiveness." Mr. Gleason, you see, maintained his personal perspective in an unusual, perhaps extraordinary way. Every year, he took his law clerks and his law students to the federal prison in Danbury, Connecticut. The reason for this annual trip was to remind himself where he was sending convicted defendants. On one visit several years ago, Judge Gleason met a woman named Denise Dallaire. When Denise was 26 years old, she was sentenced by a federal judge in Rhode Island to 15 years in prison for selling just a few ounces of cocaine. Denise then turned prison into an opportunity to serve others. She made blankets, hats, and pillows, and she gave them to a children's cancer ward. She organized a group of inmates each year to decorate Christmas trees that were then sold, and the proceeds were donated to a cancer charity. And she persuaded other inmates to march around the prison yard to raise money for breast cancer research. And when he met Denise, Judge Gleason had already been discussing with several lawyers in the New York City area the idea of forming a new initiative, a new project called the Mercy Project. And the Mercy Project was designed to assist people like Denise to obtain relief from unduly severe sentences. One of the lawyers who was working with Judge Gleason agreed to represent Denise, and that lawyer persuaded the sentencing judge to reduce her sentence. Denise was released in time to be with her mother for the last 11 days of her mother's life. And then finally, there is the case of Francois Holloway. In 1996, Mr. Holloway was charged with 3 counts of carjacking. The federal prosecutors in that case offered him an 11-year plea deal, but his lawyer persuaded him to reject the offer because the lawyer believed he could win the trial. Mr. Holloway lost. And because of mandatory minimum federal penalties, Judge Gleason was required to sentence Mr. Holloway to 57 years in federal prison. That was more than twice the average sentence for a murder conviction in that jurisdiction. In 2014, nearly 20 years later, Judge Gleason persuaded the Justice Department to file a petition that enabled him to reduce Mr. Holloway's sentence to time served. At the hearing, Mr. Holloway told the judge, and this is a quote, "You displayed hope for me and my family and the family that I have yet to meet. You will not regret this." And in response, Judge Gleason said, it's important that you know that this is not an act of grace. It's an effort to do what we're here to do, to be fair and to exercise justice. You have been given back 30 years of your life. All I have to say is make it count. Make it count. And on this occasion, as you embark on the next phase of your life, those three words resonate. Make it count. Make it count. John, will you please join me at the podium, Dean? Mr. Gleason, the faculty and the Board of Regents of Northern Kentucky University have resolved to confer, and I do hereby confer upon you this 13th day of May in the year 2016, the honorary degree of Doctor of Laws. Congratulations. Ladies and gentlemen, your commencement speaker, Dr. John Gleason.
I like that doctor part. You can feel free to call me doctor after tonight. President Mearns, members of the Board of Regents, other deans, distinguished faculty, honored graduates, and your families and friends, I want to start by doing three things. The first is to say congratulations to the class of 2016. You made it. Let's give yourselves another huge round of applause. The second is good for Andrew, because it's very important that you acknowledge that nobody gets to where you are today alone. Others have sacrificed so you could wear those caps and gowns. They run the gamut. There's parents, grandparents, brothers, sisters, spouses, boyfriends, girlfriends, probably even some kids in that mix as well. And I want you, graduates, the class of 2016, to please stand and give a round of applause to the people who made it possible for you to be here today. Third, I need to thank President Mearns and Dean Standen for giving me this great honor today, and the privilege, really, of playing a small role in this great event. I can't tell you how much it means to me and how honored I am to receive this honorary degree and to share this day with you. And I give you my solemn pledge that I'm going to try to finish speaking before I wear out my welcome. I think I've worn out my welcome with one person over there already. Look, I don't want to dwell on the things that you did to make it to this day, because you know what they are. And let's face it, not all of those memories are great ones. But just a little bit for your families and friends. You read cases. You tried to figure out what those cases meant, which wasn't always so easy. You wrote papers. You stayed up late. You went through the very difficult process of learning to think like lawyers. And most important, you got your hands dirty the way lawyers should in the community through your clinics and your field placements. You know better than most law school graduates in this country that the law is not a library full of dusty old books, but a living, breathing, always imperfect thing. The law manages to infuse its way into everyone's lives and livelihoods. Somehow, it manages to bind us all together in countless ways, and at the same time to divide us. The main fault lines in our society today are the differences in opinions we have about what the law is and what it should be. You made absolutely the right choice going to law school. You made the exact right choice because no matter what interests you, no matter what it is you really care about in this world, you can find a way to pursue it as a lawyer, whether or not you practice law. Now, I got to tell you, I've never been a commencement speaker before. And for all I know, I'll never be one again after tonight. And maybe because this is my first time, I feel an enormous responsibility to you. Everyone's perfectly entitled to forget everything I say tonight. I've sat through dozens of commencements, and I can't say I remember a single commencement address. But that doesn't alter the fact that I feel it's my job today to speak to you from my heart and to say something that you might find useful as you begin your careers in the law. I identify with you in ways that maybe you don't appreciate. President Mearns mentioned this, but I grew up in an immigrant's household with parents who were very short on education and short on money. They were short really on everything except faith and kids, both of which they had in great abundance. They devoted their entire lives to two simple goals: put their 7 kids through college and pay for the weddings of their 4 daughters. They were the quintessential little people, but they were so genuine and so real. And I have no doubt, they're long gone, but I have no doubt their influence on me kept me in the trenches of our profession for more than 30 years, 10 as a prosecutor, 22 as a trial judge. The well of the courtroom is one place where the rubber of our justice system meets the road of our society. It doesn't get any more real or more three-dimensional than the well of a Brooklyn courtroom. And one of the things I like most about this law school is the way it blends a rigorous academic curriculum with a practice-based commitment to the larger community of which it is a part. More than anything else, the law is about individuals. It's about their families and their communities. And it's so important never to lose sight of that. The fact that I've been a trench dweller my whole career has its disadvantages here tonight. Had you invited a Supreme Court justice or a famous law professor, your commencement speaker today might have been able to speak to you from a higher plane, someone with a mile-high view of our profession. I just don't have that vantage point. And to tell you the truth, that's okay with me. I have something important I want to try to convey to you, but it's something I've learned from my own experiences, down in the weeds, not from on high. And I've decided that the best way I can do it is to share 3 vignettes with you, 3 of my experiences as a lawyer or a judge. I'll confess to being a little self-conscious about it because I'm acutely aware of the fact that today is about you and your families, not about me. But this is really the only way I can make the point I want to leave you with. The first is a vignette about my sister Mary and her husband Eddie. They had a deli in Larchmont, New York, a suburb north of the city. It was a tough business. And right after I graduated from law school, they decided to hang it up. Eddie would go back to managing a supermarket deli. And Mary, who had a full-time job as a teacher, would regain her sanity. So they decided to sell the deli, the name of it, Bon Appetit, and their rights under the lease, a couple of meat slicers, and the inventory in the deli, to their only employee for $20,000, $10,000 up front, a $10,000 promissory note, and Mary and Eddie would keep a security interest in the meat slicers until the $10,000 note was paid. Now, I was the first lawyer in our big family, even though I was just out of law school. This is going to happen to you. Your family, of course, thinks you can do everything that lawyers do. Funny about that. So Mary and Eddie asked me to handle the deal. I was a litigation associate at a big firm. So I called a friend in the corporate department and said I needed help. He said, well, what do you need help with? And I said, well, I think it's an asset purchase agreement. The next day, a 120-page document landed on my desk. It was a document pursuant to which one of the firm's clients had sold a Boeing 737 to a buyer in Eastern Europe. Now, there was no conceivable event that agreement did not anticipate. Earthquakes, floods, insurrections, coup d'etat. There were force majeure clauses, most favored nation clauses. I didn't even know what they meant. Act of God, arbitration agreements. I adapted it as best I could, and I sent this draft agreement to the buyer's lawyer. It was the single most complicated $20,000 asset purchase agreement in the history of the world. What are you doing? The guy snapped at me when he got me on the phone. He said, you're selling us some bologna and some bologna slicers for $20,000. Do you really need to be able to renegotiate the price based on fluctuations in the foreign exchange rate? The second vignette I want to share with you arose also out of my role as consigliere to the Gleason family. This was later. I'd been a lawyer about 3 or 4 years. My brother Pat has a son, Daniel. And at age 2.5, Daniel got meningitis. And he survived, but it stole his ability to hear. He was profoundly hearing impaired as a result. And since Daniel already knew our language, he was 2.5 when he lost his hearing, my brother and his wife decided not to teach him American Sign Language. Rather, the whole family learned cued speech. It's a visual communication system which uses hand signals to enable someone to differentiate between different consonant sounds. It's an enhanced lip reading method. So Daniel kept our language. And as he approached kindergarten 2 years later, the local school district and later the Board of Education in Delaware, where they live, informed my brother Pat that his son would be sent to the state school for the deaf 90 minutes away. There'd be no more cued speech. He would learn ASL. He would come home on weekends. When my brother said he wanted Daniel in the local school with the help of a cued speech expert, they said no. Every profoundly hearing impaired child in the history of the state had gone to the school for the deaf, and so would Daniel. That was that. Panicked that he would lose both his physical connection and the language connection with his own son. My brother called me, and with a little work, we learned that what felt wrong was in fact wrong under the law. We took them on legally, and that boy not only went to kindergarten in the local school with a cued speech expert at his side, but he stayed, that expert stayed at his side for 17 years, till he graduated with honors from the University of Delaware. And now, all of the hearing impaired children in Delaware, whose parents want them mainstreamed, are in fact mainstreamed. Finally, fast forward 25 years to a scene in my courtroom. It's a criminal case. The defendant's a 35-year-old man charged with a nonviolent drug trafficking offense, not a particularly significant one. He has in his record 2 minor marijuana convictions. And the prosecutor's telling me that as long as he pleads guilty by the next day, the government's fine with a sentence of less than 8 years in prison and open to me imposing a sentence of even less than that. But, the prosecutor continues, if he insists on going to trial, the government's going to invoke a sentencing provision that will require me, upon conviction of that defendant, to impose a sentence of life without parole. No judicial discretion not to. The more remarkable thing to me was not that the prosecutor had the power to do that, although that was pretty remarkable, but our criminal justice system had gotten to the point where a well-meaning young man, acting in good faith, didn't feel even the slightest hesitation in saying out loud in open court that it would cost the defendant literally the rest of his life to go to trial. A sentence so extravagantly harsh that no one, not even that prosecutor himself, would even try to claim it was a just punishment for the crime. So, the arc of my career, I hope, God willing, is by no means complete. But those 3 vignettes pretty much sum it up so far. When I left law school more than 35 years ago, I was an earnest and careful young lawyer. I could spot issues. That deal that I did for Mary and her husband Eddie was more paint by numbers than it was lawyering, but I learned something, and I got the job done. Daniel's case, my nephew's case, brought me to another level of lawyering, and for me, and this is going to happen to you, for me it was an epiphany. It taught me a transformative lesson, how to use the law as a tool to accomplish important and tangible results that improve lives. At its best, the law is just that, a tool that helps us build good things for people in our communities. But I honestly don't think I really appreciated law school until the past 10 years, and that last vignette lies at the heart of what I want to convey to you tonight. Sometimes, more frequently than I anticipated when I was sitting where you're sitting tonight, the law is just wrong, and it becomes an instrument of harm. You know, listening to a young prosecutor tell me that a man would have to spend the rest of his life in prison as punishment for exercising his right to a trial by jury was one of about a dozen experiences that I've had that have caused me to conclude that our criminal justice system is deeply, deeply flawed. We have sentencing laws and practices that have become so ingrained, we don't even notice the injustices they produce day in and day out, even though those injustices are right under our noses. The United States has become the world's greatest incarcerator, elevating mass incarceration to an art form. A nation with 5% of the world's population has 25% of the world's prisoners. And our per capita prison population is 10 times that of comparable nations in Western Europe. The fiscal costs alone are astronomical, but they pale in comparison to the human costs. At the receiving end of those excessively harsh sentences are real people from real families and real communities that we've decimated with our incarceration obsession. I didn't want to just complain about these practices. I wanted to suggest changes, and that's when I fully realized what law school did for me. I discovered the only really effective way to seek change was to deconstruct, to go back, to learn how the law got to where it is, identify the forks in the road along the way, learn where the law went wrong, and where, with a little rigorous thinking, it might have gone in another direction. I did this in a series of opinions on in multiple sentencing contexts, and it dawned on me it was precisely what my professors in law school had been teaching me to do. You know, law students, certainly I did at the time, have this desire to learn the black letter law. And I recall being frustrated at how much time we spent reading about and discussing how the law got to where it was, whether that withstood scrutiny and where it might have gone instead. So what I'm trying to say to you, graduates of the class in the class of 2016, is it took me way too long to finally get it. But what was happening in my legal education was exactly what should have been happening. And it was a really valuable gift for me. So let me be clear. What I'm saying to you, you're about to become members of a great profession. Don't let anyone ever suggest otherwise to you. You go out there, you learn how to do that paint-by-number stuff. You've begun this already. In your clinics, you learn by doing. Stay in each moment as you grow as a lawyer. Make sure you focus on getting the task before you right every single time. Then you're going to get to a point, the one I arrived at with my nephew Daniel's case, where you're more proactive, when you envision good results for your clients and use the law as an instrument to achieve those results. Revel in those victories and know that you're almost a complete lawyer. Finally, it's doing those things is how you're going to identify the places where you think the law needs to change. And when that happens, you're going to become complete lawyers, because you're going to fulfill your responsibility to try to bring that change about. Might be a brief on behalf of a client, an amicus brief, a letter to the editor, a request to a legislator. It could take any number of forms. You're going to use the skills you learned right here to lay the foundation for your argument that the law itself needs changing. And here's the single most important thing I want to say to you. My request to you has nothing to do with the areas of the law that you're going to wind up concluding that need change, or the normative positions you take. If you wind up in criminal justice, I don't care if you agree with me or not. And I expect some of you might not. And everything I say to you about advocating for change that you think is needed applies equally to opposing changes that you think would be unwise. So go for it. Dissect what I've said. Use the legal skills you got right here to construct your own arguments. It's exactly that kind of reason back and forth that makes our legal system healthy. And eventually, sometimes it seems like turning the Queen Mary around to get change that everybody agrees is needed, but eventually needed change comes. In a little while, you're going to receive tangible evidence of your hard work and achievements here. It's going to be a cardboard tube with nothing in it. Later on, you'll get the other tangible evidence. Then I recommend you continue celebrating those achievements for the remainder of the evening and for as much of the night as you care to devote to that very important task. Party hard, just please do it safely. Then you're going to take and pass a bar exam, because this school prepares you especially well for that. Then you're going to dedicate yourselves to making those diplomas count for something. I'm glad to hear, Jeffrey, President Mearns recount those words I mentioned to Francois Holloway. I'm going to say the same thing to you. Make them count. You know, some of you are going to change the world All of you are going to change your communities. Each of you is going to grow and learn and find your very best self, both as a lawyer and as a person. It is such an honor and a privilege to be present for this great moment in your lives. Thank you for listening. Good luck and congratulations to the class of 2016.
Today's musical interlude will be performed by Evan Hurley, Deborah Nenatal, and NKU music faculty Frank Restison and Lisa Black. Please welcome once again Jeffrey S. Mearns, President of Northern Kentucky University.
Okay, so it's a privilege to have an opportunity to say just a few words to you, but I have to confess I'm in an unenviable position. I have to follow that commencement address, and also I'm the only thing that stands between you and that empty tube over there. So I'll be brief. You know, you, the class of 2016, you are part of a tradition of excellence that has characterized this law school since its inception. And individually and collectively, as you've heard, you've worked hard and you've accomplished a great deal, and we're very proud of you. And as you embark on your career in the law, I just want to give you a few brief suggestions. First, always remember that you have to put your client's interests first. You have to put your client's interest before your own personal self-interest. As a lawyer, that's your professional duty. But you must also never forget that what your client wants you to do and what the law permits may not always be the same thing. At all times, it's your ethical obligation to speak the truth and to obey the law, irrespective of your client's demands. Always remember, John mentioned this, always remember that every case is important to your client. While the matter can seem routine or inconsequential to you, every case matters to your client, so commit yourself to excellence in every case, every day. Always remember that a lawyer's obligation is to serve both the private interests and the public good. No matter how you choose to earn a living, please become involved in public service by providing pro bono legal services or volunteering with charitable organizations or civic associations. And then, as you heard from Mr. Gleason, please remember, you are lawyers. We have a special obligation. That obligation is to use our voice. This country was founded on the principle of equal justice for all. In addition to your professional responsibility to seek justice for your clients, remember that as lawyers, you have a moral obligation to speak out against any injustice. Don't shrink from this obligation, embrace it. And please also remember that within each one of you there is a special motivation that brought you to our law school and which brings you to this place tonight. You've overcome many obstacles, but there are likely to be more challenges ahead, and there are going to be some disappointments in the days to come. But when you face those challenges and those disappointments, never forget the dream that brings you here. Whenever you feel discouraged, recall that professional aspiration, that personal dream. Pursue that dream with passion and dedication. And finally, on a personal note, please never forget to show your affection and your appreciation for your family and your friends and for all of the other people in your lives who have helped you become the talented men and women that you are. Honor those gifts, their gifts to you, and repay the debt that you owe them by sharing your talents and your good fortune with others who need your help. Thank you, congratulations, and best of luck.
Mr. President, it is my privilege to present the women and men who have successfully completed the requirements for the degree of Juris Doctor.
Okay, so let's get to the business at hand. It is my privilege to confer those degrees. Will all of the candidates please rise? By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Commonwealth of Kentucky, through the Board of Regents of Northern Kentucky University, I hereby confer upon you the degree of Juris Doctor. I now declare you a graduate of the Salmon P. Chase College of Law of Northern Kentucky University. Congratulations.
Leslie R. Abrams. Robert B. Achani. Michael K. Allen. Yelena V. Ayler. Ula Barcelli. Joshua L. Berry. Melissa Karen Bodner, magna cum laude. Emily A. Brown, cum laude. Jonathan Liston Brown, cum laude. Krista L. Burton, summa cum laude. Sean P. Carr. Travis M. Caudill, cum laude. Mark Edward Clark, magna cum laude. Ellen Maureen Hurley Cochran. Frank M. Cogliano. Joseph D. Coleman III, summa cum laude. Brooke N. Cooper. Sean N. Crawford. Thomas H. Crush, Jr. Matthew David Davison. Matthew James Dickman. Kellyanne K. Doan, cum laude. Olivia May Earls, summa cum laude. Jared J. Eubank, magna cum laude. Colleen R. Faust, magna cum laude. Laura Ann Fitzer. Erin Elizabeth Fleischman. Kenneth A. Foisey. Jonathan D. Gibbs. Devin E. Golden, cum laude. John Arthur Gray, magna cum laude. Kevin T. Guilfoyle. Christopher T. Hale. Jonathan A. Hammond. Zachary M. Harvey. Craig Joseph Healy, Jr. Amy M. Hebler, summa cum laude. Catherine Lindsay Held. Kyle R. Henry. Lacey Davis Hicks. Joseph Kenton Hill. Whitley S. Hill. Chad A. Hirschauer. Leanna M. Holmenberg. Marianne Elizabeth Hoover, cum laude. Joanne Hoskins, cum laude. Emily A. Hubbard, cum laude. Mark R. Huber. Jessica Lynn Hughes, cum laude. Hillary A. Jameson. Andrew Johnson, magna cum laude. Kimberly Lynn Jones. Nicholas A. Jones, cum laude. Cody Edward Douglas Kirby. Peter J. Clear. Eli N. Kraft Jacobs.
Eli!
Christopher S. Langefeld. Sarah Cynthia Larcade, cum laude. Jessica M. Lauber. Philip A. Lipscomb, magna cum laude. Zachary M. Lotspeech, cum laude. Parasu E. Majd. Jared E. Marks. Lauren Eileen Martin, cum laude. Ryan R. Martin. Dylan R. Mashmeyer, cum laude. Laura M. Mouseharp. Christine M. Mayhew. Edward J. McHale. Nicole Erica Miller. Jacob Mills. Matthew E. Maloney, summa cum laude. Damian C. Nudie. Tyler Douglas Olson. Kate M. Patton. Chelsea J. Pilley. Joseph M. Portwood. Syed Faraz Ahmad Rizvi. Anthony Dominic Romeo. Tressa Grace Root. Jonathan C. Rouse. Kristen T. Saxton. Samantha J. Scott. Shannon T. Scott, cum laude. Stephen D. Seitzman. Jabari A. Shaw. Ashley E. Seco, cum laude. Matthew L. Stewart. John Mark Talarigo. Beth Ann Taylor, cum laude. Casey A. Taylor, magna cum laude. Byron DeAnthony Turner. Levi Z. Turner. Sean M. Turner, cum laude. Edgar D. Valdez. Allison A. Veith, cum laude. Caitlin Millie Walker. Brent M. Webster. Cassandra L. Welch, magna cum laude. Kelsey L. Westermeyer. Catherine A. Wicklin. Andrew B. Wilhoit. Molly M. Williamson. Matthew D. Wingate, cum laude. DeMarcus L. Woods.
Congratulations to the class of 2016. Terrific job. As promised, this ceremony has been a terrific celebration of a huge achievement by you, our graduates. On behalf of the faculty and administration at the NKU Chase College of Law, it has been our privilege and delight to work with you and educate you these past few years. We like you. Please don't be a stranger. Come back and visit. Help us maintain and improve everything that we do. Chase is a special place, and we are special because you are special. Congratulations to the class of 2016.
Please rise for the singing of our alma mater, led by Kelsey Cummings, Sydney Allen, Kyle Harnrick, and Matthew Folsom. The words of the alma mater are on the back cover of your printed program.
Northern, let your vision lead us, hearts of women, men, and youth. Help us seek the higher virtues, guide us to the greater truth. Northern, northern alma mater, may our lives enrich your name, and in time leave us your children, better far than when we came.
That concludes our commencement ceremony. Please remain standing while the platform party and the graduates leave the hall.